Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations with Kate. I'm so glad that you're with me tonight, and I'm very excited because we have a very sophisticated guest tonight. Somebody who's in the entertainment business at a very interesting and exciting level, and knows St. James. Oops, I'm sorry, guys. and has known St. James Church and St. James School forever. So such a great perspective. Everyone, meet Hubert Smith.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you, and a pleasure to be here with you, Mother Kate.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you here. It really is. Hubert, I know Hubert because he's on the school board at St. James School and is a real mover and shaker there. And I guess I just want to start by getting the definition of what you do, and then I'm going to back up and find out how you found your way to St. James in the first place. So you're a lawyer and you're a television executive. So tell us about your role.
Sure. I am Senior Vice President of Business Affairs at AMC Networks, which also includes AMC, the channel that you see on your TV, Sundance Television, IFC channel on your TV, and BBC America. Mm-hmm. And my role is to act as the agent as well as lawyer for the studio. So I deal with all of the above the line talent, which is a term of art in the business, but that means your writers, producers, directors, showrunners, line producers, and all of your actors. And then I take here, I'll give you an example, Mother Kate.
Please do.
If you wrote a great story,
okay,
you would, and by chance you had an agent,
mm-hmm.
Your agent would call me and say, we've got a great story. We want to pitch it to your creatives. Can we get this done? And I would say, well, let me check in with my creative crew. And they would say, we love Mother Kate's story. Can you make a deal with her?
Okay.
And my job is to make that deal with your agent, your lawyer, your manager. I will make the deal, pay you lots of money, hopefully.
Okay, of course.
Of course. And then we take your story and I will guide your story and the production and the shooting, the location, the insurance, the actual production itself, all the way through until we've got 8 episodes, what we call in the can, meaning we've already shot them, they're edited, they're ready to go. And then we will choose which network we're going to put that show on. So for example,
you're only going to commit to 8 episodes? Don't you have any faith in me?
Oh, well, we do have options for another 6 seasons of your 8 episode show.
Oh,
okay, so I think you're going to get through it. Yeah.
All right.
And
so wait, when you say my story, do you mean my screenplay? Or do you mean a novel that I wrote?
Either. So whether it's a novel, it could be an article written by Mother Kate Kress of St. James, and our creative folks will find this article and decide this is a story we want to tell. And then they come to me and say, would you please make a deal with Mother Kate and her representatives to get this onto television? I'll do my best. And then once we've settled on a deal, I will then shepherd your show all the way through production and then figure out.
Can I come on the set while you're filming and give you all my opinions?
You can, but it might be starring you. So yes, you will be on the set and I'll drop by every now and then just to make sure things are going okay. And then I'll figure out how to sell it internationally.
You're doing this. How many shows are you dealing? That sounds like this is pretty hands-on all the way along the line. So how many shows are you doing that with at any given time?
Probably between 8 and 12 that are in production at any period in time, and then you have to develop all the other shows. So that's another 40 to 50 shows which are in development. And then we have a pilot season where we're going to test out some of these ideas before we actually commit to a series. So that's another 4 to 5 pilots. And then we end up with the Mother Kate Kress show on AMC.
Yes. All right. So which one of the networks am I going to end up on? Probably IFC, Sundance.
I would guess Sundance. You're quite interesting. Yeah. So that's
a little edgy, right? A little edgy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's good. That's good to know. These are all channels that I watch.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And some of you may know that that AMC is the Walking Dead channel. That's kind of and what's the other show that's sort of most identified with AMC?
Either Mad Men
Oh, of course, Mad Men. Yeah,
or Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. Yes.
Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
And Better Call Saul.
Oh my gosh! So those are some pretty darned iconic shows.
I think when you look back on the quote unquote golden age of television, you'll find The Sopranos, The Wire, and then probably 3 AMC shows: Breaking Bad, Mad Men, and even perhaps The Walking Dead, which
I would say that Mad Men was a real turning point.
it was.
I mean,
it was a golden moment.
It was, wasn't it? It was so much a part of our just the vernacular, you know?
Yes. It became part of the zeitgeist, and
That's
it was a fantastic moment for us. And The Walking Dead, it did the same thing. At one point, having 18.5 million viewers on a Sunday evening was absolutely incredible. That number matches the final episode of Game of Thrones. So we were doing that every Sunday.
You were sort of that Walking Dead, which was on for quite a number of years.
Still on. We've got 2 more seasons. Everybody watch.
Okay, sorry about that. See, I don't watch it just because I'm such a scaredy cat. I want to, and then I sprint out of the room and I come back in. And it's so terrifying to me, you know?
It can be. However, the real story of The Walking Dead has nothing to do with the zombies. It's sort of Lord of the Flies. What happens when civilization collapses?
Right.
How do people interact with each other? And where do you find the value in a world that has become valueless?
That's what's terrifying to me. The zombies are scary, but predictable.
Yeah,
you know, but
they walk in a straight line.
Yeah, but it's that feeling that you don't. It's so hard to find the hope. You know,
yes,
the hope is so small. You know.
Now, are you talking about The Walking Dead or our current situation?
Right, exactly. And I think that because life can feel that way sometimes. I mean, in some moments, it's a heavy dose. But I know so many people who The Walking Dead sort of message is really helpful. That realism. Yeah. Paradoxically, the realism of that show is so it's a necessary dose of
it's a shot in the arm to say that no matter the circumstances, we can figure this out. We human beings, if you care for someone else and if you love someone else, you can figure out just about anything, including a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. Oof. That's amazing. But listen, there's a lot more that I want to ask about your amazing career. But first, I want to back up and ask you how you found your way to St. James Church, because I know you were at St. James Church as a little kid.
As a little kid.
Yeah. You know a lot more about St. James Church than I do. A lot more.
Well, okay. Before we even go down that path, just let me say this.
Okay.
I have been a member of St. James Church since 1973. So it has been a minute.
Yeah.
And I will say this about St. James, the church. There have been several moments over those, what is that, nearly 50 years now, that truly inspired both myself, the community, the neighborhood, and all those who were touched by St. James. Father D'Amico, obviously at the beginning of this process, and I'm going to be completely honest, yourself and Mr. Peter Rinke at the school have brought that same sort of elan back to St. James, and I'm so happy.
All right, I hope Peter Rinke is watching this or watches the replay so that he can hear that we have elan, because that is the best word. I love it. And he and I do have a great time. And just to let you know that there's activity in the text, in the chat here, and we don't have to answer this question, but someone's saying, question for Hubert, what is the wildest thing you ever did at Dartmouth Winter Carnival? So I'm ignoring that question for now. But we'll get back to that because we haven't gotten to the Dartmouth stage of your life yet. That's so funny. Okay, so thank you for that. Thank you for that shout out. I really appreciate it. All I can say is I've never had so much fun in my life as I have serving this church and helping to be, I hope, a support to the school and looking for ways for us to do more and more growing together. But again, go back in time.
You want to go back to the beginning?
Young Hubert Smith, let's hear the story.
Whew. My parents moved here from Florida in 1956, and I was born, and this is frightening when you think about it. I was born before we had the right, before African Americans really had the right to vote. So I was born in 1963, which is just incredible. So during my lifetime, this has occurred. I was born at Children's Hospital in 1963 in September, and I was adopted the same day by my parents, whom, if there are old school people on this stream, they will remember my parents, Hubert and Fanny. And I walked into St. James Church for the first time after we had moved from South Central Los Angeles to Wilshire Park, about 5-6 blocks away from St. James. And I walked in for the first time in 1972. I think it was about October, November of 1972. And if I'm not mistaken, we're either the third or the fourth African-American family at St. James. There had been, of course, the Coles, Nat King Cole and his daughter. And there were the Nelsons, who were also serving on the vestry at the time when I walked in the door.
Helen Nelson? Helen Nelson? Oh, I love her.
Very
love
good.
her. Oh, my goodness.
And then there was us. And it was one of the moments, the salient moments, singular moments that changed my life, was becoming involved in St. James and the community that I met and the path that they laid out for me and the encouragement that I had all along the way completely changed my life. So I have a deep, abiding affection for St. James.
Wow. So I want to, Betsy Anderson. Do you know Reverend Betsy Anderson? She's on the chat. She says, I remember your parents very well. They were wonderful.
They were.
And also, Ife Nwoko also remembers your parents.
They were about as sturdy with the church as some of our stained glass windows. Let's put it that way. They were there every Sunday.
So you walked in the door, and I think that you very quickly became an acolyte, didn't you?
I did. I walked in the door, and my mother said, when you turn 9, you are joining Pack 10, which was the Cub Scout pack that was attached to St. James. And when you turn 11, you will join the Boy Scouts here. And in between, you're going to go to Sunday school, and you're also going to be an acolyte. And so I served as an acolyte with Father D'Amico, who gave me my St. Dunstan's cross for service. And is anyone going to see this that remembers Father D'Amico? I presume, yes?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Of course. John Thies, for instance, John Thies is on the call right now. On the
I
chat.
will say nothing about Princeton.
Okay.
But I will say that one of the best parts of serving as an acolyte with Father D'Amico was that when you were finished putting out all the candles in the entire church after a Sunday service, he'd call all of us in the back and somehow miraculously borrow from the offer plate and hand each one of us either a $10 bill and say, "Job well done, young men. See you next week."
Oh my goodness.
Which was fantastic because my parents weren't giving me an allowance. So I was there every Sunday to make sure.
Why didn't I think of this? Oh my gosh.
It was great.
That's amazing. Oh, he sounds like he was, and wasn't he the one who founded St. James School?
He was. He founded St. James in response to really the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King.
Well, and
And
what's the connection specifically?
he felt that if that dream was ever to be realized, then it would take the action of every one of us. And so his action was that we were going to build a school, which started, I believe, as a nursery school and a preschool.
Mm-hmm.
And we are going to educate the world on what it means to be a global citizen and to care and to be a member of this world with an open heart. And he more than accomplished his goal. And that little school has now turned into one of the more prestigious elementary schools in all of Los Angeles. And I'm super proud.
Yes. Yes. Prestigious with a soul, though.
With a soul. And that's the difference. That's what sets St. James apart from every other private elementary school or independent school in Los Angeles. Our children, when they graduate from St. James, the response that we are hearing back from each of the middle schools where they then attend and high school is that of all the things that we may have to teach your children from St. James, we do not have to teach them compassion, and we do not have to teach them citizenship. And I'd say then we've done our job.
That makes me want to, I just choke up when you say that, because as I always said to my kids when they were growing up, that's all I care about.
Yeah.
The rest, I don't care about. The rest is great, whatever happens, but that's not entirely true. Of course, I want them to go to college and all. Yeah, but what I care about so much more than anything else is that. And I love that that's what we hear about.
That is our reputation for our children as they leave St. James, which is both a tribute to the school, a tribute to the church, mm-hmm. and to the moral teachings that and the outreach that we do as an elementary school, which is a rare thing.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, just toggling back for a second, Iffy says, your mother made me become a greeter and usher. It sounds like your mother just laid down the law and you and everybody else did what she said.
Yes, for those of you who know my mother, you will know that this is true. My mother was my life's hero and probably the strongest, most bedrock person I've ever encountered. And I've been a lot of places. I've never encountered anything like my mother. So here's her quick bio in a short.
Let's hear it. Okay. Yeah.
So my mother was born on a sharecropping farm in Tallahassee, Florida in 1923. They lost their home 3 times before she was able to get to college. She lost her mother in her arms at the age of 11 because none of the hospitals in the area, she died of complications from breast cancer, and none of the hospitals in the Tallahassee area had enough black blood for her to be admitted. So she died in my mother's arms at 11. My mother then graduates Bethune-Cookman College and heads to New York City to graduate from NYU School of Mathematics and Education in 1954, prior to Brown versus Board of Education.
Unbelievable.
She then moves out to Los Angeles in 1956, where her neighbors burned a cross on her lawn on the second night they moved in. And then she proceeded to buy the house from the man who had burned the cross, the 2 on either side. And eventually she moved us here to Wilshire Park. And then she pushed her little son right into St. James, and it changed everything.
So what was it about being at St. James, that church as a child, that was so influential? You've talked about your respect for Father D'Amico and about being a professional acolyte, is what Reverend Betsy's calling it. And also you're seeing the birth of the school
Yes.
Were you here for
Well,
the birth? Yeah.
I wasn't
Oh,
here for the birth.
no, you weren't
It
here
was,
for the birth of school.
but it was quite
the
small
taste
when we
and
first got here.
yeah, but knowing that that was uh,
Percolating.
percolating it and was really talking of Martin Luther King, that beloved community sort of
Yes.
incubator.
And that's exactly what it was. That was the thing that made St. James so special, was our community. And even though there were not a lot of African Americans in that group, there was such an expression of both love and compassion and a desire to help. And so when you are around that type of a community, you learn so much. My mother always used to say, of course, if you keep your mouth closed, people won't know exactly how stupid you are. But what she really meant to say was, you will learn a lot if you simply are quiet and pay attention. And that's what we did, particularly myself at St. James. I learned so much, and it was always a loving, growing, advancing environment.
Can you tell me a story about something that you learned? I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I'm trying
Sure.
to imagine. Yeah, anything.
But I mean, it was absolutely everything, and it's really hard for me to pinpoint something. But I had never heard of the Boy Scouts. I didn't know what a Cub Scout was. And Father D'Amico said to me, if you apply yourself, you can be an Eagle Scout. And not just an Eagle Scout, young man. I really believe in you. I want to see how fast you can run. Which I thought he meant, do you want me to run out of the vestibule, or do you mean apply myself?
Yeah.
And he said, no, I want to see how fast you can run. How fast can you apply yourself? So I joined Troop 10, which had been founded at St. James in 1910.
Oldest
still going.
On the West Coast, right?
Oldest, and the oldest in the nation affiliated with a church.
Oh, wow.
Amazing. I was so proud, and I ran so fast that I completed my Eagle Scout and held the record in the state of California for 26 years.
As the youngest? How old were you?
As the youngest. I was 13 years old, 10 months, and 26 days.
Goodness gracious. I don't think I've ever heard of a 13-year-old Eagle Scout.
They're normally 16, 17.
You must have been so driven. Wow.
Well, he told me to run fast, so I ran fast. And then you compound that with my mother. There was no way. There was no way I was going to be able to slack off at all.
That is amazing. Wow.
Father D'Amico, I had a great trouble with childhood asthma when I was a kid.
Did you?
And it was Father D'Amico who pulled my parents aside and said, have you taken him to see an allergist? This might be a long process, but you should take him to see an allergist. He gave us the name of his allergist, who became my allergist. And I saw him every Friday for shots until I was 16 years old. So,
oh my gosh. And
now I can hang out and do my, run my life as I choose without all those allergies.
So and
it was Father D'Amico.
Did it actually do away with your allergies, or just bring them under control?
Brought them under control, and I think quite a number of them have passed as I keep getting older. Yes, I don't seem to sneeze when a duck walks by anymore, so that's good.
That is amazing. So you were at St. James in a kind of a heyday, right? I mean,
absolutely.
When St. James was living into its mission in the way that you're describing. Yes. I'm thinking that in the 70s is also when some of our parishioners from different parts of Africa started to arrive. So you probably, and I see that Comfort is on the in the chat right now, as well as Iffy, people who probably felt more welcome. I mean, I love this story that your mom got Iffy involved. Iffy is our number one greeter and usher in terms of and
I'm sorry.
It never
My
stops.
mother was a little pushy. It never stopped.
It's
Never stopped.
wonderful. It's wonderful. But and I also love that you're spotlighting the Boy Scouts and the role that they play. We have Eagle
It's
Scouts
huge.
right now, or soon to be Eagle Scouts, um, uh, reimagining our clothing ministry for the homeless and creating like a shop. And also another group, another fellow who's going to be redesigning the front of the church, the plantings, and
Good.
they're fantastic, but they're not
Good.
there.
Yes. My Eagle Scout project was to replant a hill in Griffith Park that had been charred by fire. So it was my father and I up there for 8 months, every Sunday afternoon, digging parapets and watering the trees that we'd planted. It looks pretty good now, I must say, because
you've got your own hill in Griffith Park. That must make you so proud.
I feel pretty good about it. That was 1976. That was a long time ago.
Wow. All right. So here you were at St. James, these formative years, and then you went off to college.
Well, first it was St. James that approached my mother and said, "Have you thought of sending him to Harvard School for Boys, which is now the Harvard Westlake School?"
Oh, wait, St. James made that suggestion?
Yes, and I had never heard of it. I had no idea what was going on. My mother simply said, on Saturday, you have to show up and take a test. Make sure that you get up and make your bed and brush your teeth and put on a t-shirt, and then we'll go take this test.
Okay.
And we went and took the test, and they got back to us, I think, within about 3 weeks and said, yes, we'd like him in our class.
Wonderful.
I arrived. There were 2 African Americans in a class of 117. It was it was the moment which clearly changed my entire trajectory. And again, it all began with a seed from St. James. So Harvard School, prefect of my class as a senior, of course, and then off to Dartmouth College and the Ivy League for college.
So Dartmouth was where you went undergrad?
Yes. And then I came home for law school here in LA. All
right. So now we can answer Stuart Falk's question about Winter Carnival. I've never visited Dartmouth, but I've heard that Winter Carnival is a thing. Do you have any comment on this topic?
Sure. I don't remember anything from Winter Carnival.
Doesn't remember anything, Stuart. So
I'm sorry.
Mystery.
I'm sorry.
Back to Iffy again. She says, "Your mother was a mother to me, math teacher too." So they're both.
Yes. Yes. She was I think she probably boxed a lot of ears on our congregation. She was a force to be reckoned with. And my father, I know we talk a lot about my mother, but my father was perhaps the kindest human being I've ever encountered.
Well, the 8 months out on the hill in Griffith Park, I mean, that's love.
And he was approaching 60 at the time. And we were hiking up that hill every weekend. And all those long backpacking trips and going to Yellowstone, or I'm sorry, Yosemite and Kern County and Kings River. And there was my dad every time with his backpack on. He'd done 21 years in the military. So he thought that, walking up and down some hills was just, what's wrong with you kids?
He enjoyed doing that scouting stuff with you, it sounds like. Do you think?
I think he loved it. I think he absolutely loved it. Except there was a moment when we were on a scout trip where he said to me, make sure you go to the bathroom before we start building these tents. And I said, sure. So I walked over and sat down behind a log and tried to go to the bathroom. And I heard that telltale.
Oh no! Oh,
rattlesnake.
No.
And I, of course, with pants at the ankles, jumped into the nearest bush and started yelling for my dad. Who had grown up also on the Florida Panhandle, closer to Miami, Homestead.
Lots of snakes, right?
Who walks over, says, "Boy, what are you afraid of?" Reaches down, grabs the rattlesnake behind the head.
No.
And says, "Let him live his life. And how about you find a different toilet, and threw the snake back into the bush. And I went, okay.
That, wow. I get it now. I can see the kind of dad you had.
Can I tell you this? We would go, the Troop 10 would go up to Camarillo to watch the air show every year, right? To watch the jets fly by and the Blue Angels, right? Mm-hmm. And almost every year, my father would pick up someone on the way back to give them a ride back to Los Angeles. It didn't matter who it was, what was going on in their life, what was happening. If they were on the side of the road and they were cold, you got into the car with us and we'll take you where you need to go. So the kindest man and one of the strongest women I've ever known. And somehow they were both wound up being my parents.
Wow, 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 wow.
All right, I'll be quiet now.
No, I'm just that story with the snake just kind of blew my mind. That was wonderful. But here you and your family were integrating St. James Church. You were integrating, I'm guessing, the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, there were two ahead of me.
And Harvard Westlake or Harvard.
Yes. And in fact, the two ahead of me in St. James also went to Harvard Westlake, or went to what was then Harvard School. So
Harvard School, yeah.
There was a clear path to follow, and St. James was a big part of it, which is why both of my children have gone through St. James.
And that's what I was gonna, So that it sounds like that instilled in you a kind of a loyalty and belief.
Well, I think more than loyalty, I think St. James is part of who I am. And so I wanted my children to feel the same way. This is part of who you are. This is your DNA. This is your neighborhood. This is your community. These are your people. And so my son went to St. James School, and then Nicholas, and on to Harvard Westlake.
Oh my gosh, of course he did.
Of course he did. And then on to college. And Madison will graduate.
College now? Is he in college?
Yes, he's a junior in college at Bard in New York.
Oh.
About 2 hours outside of Manhattan.
I know it well because it's
You're a big Steely Dan fan? It's in Rhinebeck.
I just had a friend in Rhinebeck. It's a wonderful school. Oh my goodness. So beautiful. Artsy. Oof. Exactly.
Yeah. And then my daughter, Madison, who I won't say she's the star of the school, but she's the star of the school. Madison will graduate in next year. So she'll be class of 21. And of course she has a choice, right? Marlboro or Harvard Westlake.
That's right. You're sounding a lot like your mother.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Oh my gosh. Do you, are you a strict parent?
No, my mother was so strict that I'm the complete opposite. So I'm sure you know how that works.
I do. Right? I do. Which means Madison is going to be like your mother.
Yeah, exactly. I think it skips a generation.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We just kind of compensate. Oh, by the way, this is sort of an offline Comfort, Gunamiri. You know Comfort and Levi, right? But who we lost recently. Comfort says, my lifelong dream has always been to do a commercial for shoes. I did a shoes commercial 36 years ago. I'm 70 now. As a Hollywood executive, any advice for me how to go about this?
Have your agent call me.
All right, there you go. And all right, she knows. She'll get straight to you somehow. I know. That's wonderful. Yeah, Comfort is amazing. Oh my gosh, so creative. All right, so you're at Dartmouth. What was that like? I mean, was that a positive experience? Was it a great place to be? Was it difficult environment?
It was
I think of it as frat boyish. I'm sorry.
Yes, and Animal House is based on the fraternity at Dartmouth. Yes.
That's fine. Yeah.
It was the best 4 years of my life.
Really?
It was also the most difficult, of course, 4 years of my life, and it taught me more than probably any other actually concentrated experience. Dartmouth was the most conservative of the Ivy League while I was there. Reagan had just been elected in 1980.
Mm.
Laura Ingraham, who you can see on Fox
Mhm.
channel anytime you want to turn on in the afternoon for her opinion show, The Ingraham File, was in 5 of my government classes. So you can imagine how much fun
the discourse
that was. Yeah. And it was, there were not a lot of minorities at the time. I used to joke that Dartmouth's construct of diversity was to get more blondes, and that was probably about true while I was there. But my father had said something to me before we left, and my parents were only there twice. My mother came with me to drop me off, and both parents came to graduation. And my father said to me, as we were driving to the airport, he said, "Son, this is all you need to know. The fish have no idea what's going on up here on land. I can't help you in any way where you are going, but we got your back when you need us." So I was absolutely a fish out of water when I first got there. And by the time I graduated, I was just nothing but another Dartmouth green guy who probably drank too much and doesn't remember anything from Winter Carnival.
So,
but what he really meant was...
Now, what did he mean by that expression?
Well, my mother had an expression, which I'm sure Effie has probably heard before. She would say, King Kong would have caused a lot more change if he had taken the elevator instead of climbing up the outside of the building.
What?
And what she meant by that was, you might be the first one in the door, but you need to run as fast as you can, take that elevator up as high as you can, and then make all the changes behind you, because now you've gotten there. And so that's exactly how I viewed it. Everything that I've done since the first day I walked on the campus was to make sure that other people of color coming behind me were able to make the change that they sought. But that was the change that I needed to make, which was to open the door. And so I did that at Harvard School. I did that at Troop 10. I did that at Dartmouth College. And I hope to keep doing that throughout the rest of my career.
But Hubert, that's amazing. And it strikes me as a very particular kind of a sacrifice, because... Yeah,
it was. Well, she also would follow up with that by saying, not only do you need to take the elevator, but boy, if you mess up, they're not going to let another one in for another 5 years. You better do your job.
No pressure there.
None whatsoever.
Wow. So are you an active alum?
I am an active alum. I am. We more so with Harvard Westlake, I would say, than Dartmouth, just because it's 3,000 miles away.
Yeah.
But yes, every opportunity to go back and see that lovely. I mean, it's so bucolic. It's so absolutely beautiful in the middle of the woods in New Hampshire. You spend 4 years in Hanover, you're going to be green when you come out. So
yes,
I loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. But yes, it was really tough.
So what made you decide to go to law school after that?
Back to my mom again. When I was 11.
Did James tell you to?
Of course. When I was 11, there was a conversation at St. James, and my mom walked over to me after services and said, "How far do you think you can go? What is it that you want to be?" And I said, "I want to be senator from California." Oh. And she said, "Then you're going to have to go to law school." And I said, right. Okay, I understand. And for all of you who knew my mother, who passed away in 2015 at the age of 92.
Did she? Oh, she's not with us anymore. Okay.
A week before she passed away, you know what she had to say to me?
What?
"Why aren't you a senator yet?"
Ooh, she didn't forget.
No.
She didn't forget.
No, she never forgot. She never forgot.
You still have time. You're still young.
Well, I'm pushing it now. And I think we have some pretty good senators right now.
Yes, we do. So that's why you went to law school, because you were going to be a senator from
I was going
California.
I
Yeah.
was going to go into politics. I finished law school and went straight to the Clinton campaign. This was 1992.
Did you?
Did a little bit of work on the Obama campaign as well. Had the opportunity to go back to Washington. My father was ill, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to stay here. I will tell you this, the one thing that I was sure I would never do,
Tell me.
entertainment law.
Oh,
And here I am,
yeah.
27 years later.
27 years later. Well, we don't know really how. So how did you end up in entertainment law?
I made the mistake of taking an interview at 20th Century Fox
That's
on
where
a
you started,
Tuesday.
right? Okay.
And they called back on Thursday and said, we'd love to have you. And I decided that I really didn't want to do the big law firm thing.
Mm-hmm.
So into 20th Century Fox I went. And again, 125 lawyers, 2 African Americans.
It was
So,
always two. Like you were always the
yeah,
second or the third. Oh my gosh.
yeah, yeah. And so it was again my mother pointing her finger, don't you screw this up. They won't let another one in for another 5 years. And I'm like, don't worry, I got this. And 27 years later, I'm overseeing 4
But I'm
networks.
sure that you've had to put up with endless nonsense in all of these environments, especially because people uh, who had never been with a fellow Black student or a fellow Black lawyer would just bungle.
Yes, there was always an assumption.
Yeah.
And I understood that. And I think I internalized it, which is why I pushed myself so hard. There was always the assumption that you don't belong here.
You use
Which,
that as fuel.
yes. And then by the time I finished law school, I think it just turned into blatant arrogance. Oh, not only do I belong here, but given my path, I know I'm better than you. So let's rumble.
Blatant arrogance.
Yeah.
What would Father D'Amico say if he heard you say that?
Young man, be humble. Be humble, be humble.
Blatant arrogance. But I do think that confidence of knowing who you are.
And that, I think, is the biggest thing that I got from St. James. You know who you are.
Yeah.
You know you're just as good as everybody else. It doesn't matter what anyone has to say. And in fact, what makes you better is your compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm so happy that you and Peter Reinke are leading both the church and the school, because it seems that both of you have that same North Star. Compassion.
Absolutely. And I'm so proud of all the ways that St. James School participates in the soup kitchen and the food pantry and our increasing outreach to the homeless, because there's more need than ever. Yeah. And the children at St. James School have collected 2,000 pairs of socks and you know, so much water. And this past year for graduation, instead of a class gift, every family brought bags and bags and bags of non-perishable food for the food pantry. The children work in the food pantry. They serve at the soup kitchen. There's this real commitment.
Yeah.
Every class at St. James School does something.
We're trying. We're going to get the kindergartners in there soon too. It is part of what defines St. James. Yeah.
It really is. And it's funny, look at where we are. Now we call ourselves St. James in the City. I love that name, but I don't know if it offends old timers like you.
No, I love it.
Some people say, that's not what we are. We're St. James. But I love that recognition, even in the name, that we are in the city. We are of the city,
Yes, we are part of this fabric. We are, I know that our board at the school would love for St. James to be sort of a Hancock Park neighborhood school. Mm-hmm. I think we're bigger than that, just as the church is bigger than that. All are welcome. Mm-hmm. And let's see where we can go on this journey together. And if we represent the city in which we live, then that's sort of the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're in this together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that you sounds like you're edging toward talking about what you would say is your dream for the school and the church. We talk a lot these days about synergy, school church synergy. There have been periods of time in the past when the school, well, let's go back. I mean, the school was the church's baby.
Yes. And it kept growing.
It was
and
so
growing.
Small, but it grew and grew and grew. And now the school is this big, fabulous, highly regarded independent school, the high quality school with a heart,
Right.
and it's all grown up.
It is. We have gone from I believe just a daycare center that turned into a kindergarten, and then a kindergarten that turned into K-3, to now we are K-6 with the preschool and a pre-kindergarten program. The school has, as of today, 362 enrolled students. We are a major feeder for Harvard-Westlake, Marlboro roads, and Cabell.
You're freezing up. I can tell that you're saying
Los Angeles, not school, and what the church has done in its support for the school. So,
right. So it's such a great school. And I have this theory that if you look at all the people who attend St. James Church, a third of them knew the school when it was a baby or when it was a toddler or a teenager, and has watched it all the way along. Another third have a vague idea that we are connected with a school, but don't know much. And another third don't even know we have a school. So I feel like
we have a school.
We have such a school. So I feel like my big and important responsibility is to tell St. James Church the news that this baby grew up into the most amazing, just like you were a St. James, church baby, and look at you now. I mean, the school is so amazing, and for me, synergy means just more and more ways that we can explicitly support one another, cheer one another on, celebrate each other's successes as partners. That's my dream.
We are one
that's
entity.
My dream, but I gave you my dream.
Well, I like your dream too. I think that we are one entity. We are a school and church family. And I would love for more, I mean, speaking on behalf of the board at this point, I would love to have more involvement from your parishioners and your vestry, and just hang out with our kids once this COVID pandemic is over.
Right.
It would be, I mean, we already have quite a bit of synergy. Father Aiden Coe, as you know, is actually on the school roster. And yet what he does, bringing both his religious instruction and the compassion and the care that he gives to our children, is one of the bedrocks of St. James School.
Isn't it though? It's such a part of our DNA.
Exactly. And I think that's where we need to, if there is improvement for synergy, I think it is more involvement on both sides. I think it would be wonderful to have our children come to St. James and maybe sing you guys a couple of songs on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And it would be just as fantastic just to have some of your parishioners come and visit those children in their classrooms, come and do a reading program with us, come and do anything that you would like to do, or show up for lunch and join us for In-N-Out Burger on Wednesdays.
Oh my gosh, that's right. I'm always at the front of that line. Yeah, I think all of that is true. One opportunity that I have been experiencing during the pandemic is just this opportunity through these interviews to introduce St. James to St. James, you know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's so many people among us that we know each other sort of in passing, but we don't know the whole wonderful story, you know, and so that's sort of true for the school and the church as well. We don't know each other's story now, you know,
Yes.
or
Yes.
in the past. So there's a lot.
Well, I think that there were some old narratives, right? And
Yes.
some of those old narratives were that the school was getting too big for its britches.
Mhm.
It needed to figure out its place. This was a little church side piece, and we never expected it to turn into this. I have news for everyone who's watching this. The church is doing well. The school is doing well. Your little baby is all grown up, and let's do this as a partnership from now on.
Let's do this as a partnership from now on, and let's build each other up and celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
You know what is happening now. You know,
St. James School is not St. James School without the church. It's really that simple.
You're never going to leave us.
No, we're not going anywhere.
That's good. That's good because it feels like part of the DNA, you know.
It is what we are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, by the way, Comforts also has just said, thanks a lot for your involvement with St. James School and for this conversation. My son graduated from Harvard Westlake years ago. Is that Comfort? Is that Kalechi? I don't know if it is. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We're all so proud of these, of how well the students do. And someone else wrote, your mother and father were the greatest. I don't know who this is writing this. It's nice to see you again, Hubert. Fanny touched so many lives at St. James, children and adults. I do miss them. Oh, your parents have a fan club in the chat tonight. That's for sure. All right. One closing question, and that is, I can't help but notice that there is a basketball jersey behind you. Can you tell us, do you happen to be fond of the Lakers?
Just a bit. My father took me to see Jerry West, Gail Goodrich, and a big center named Wilt Chamberlain play for the Lakers in 1971. I think either we were at the Sports Arena or the Forum had just opened. And I've been a Laker fan ever since. My son, this jersey, my son was at Kobe camp, and on the last day of Kobe camp, Kobe comes in and signs everyone's jersey if they brought a jersey, or signs their basketball. And so that was the only time I got to meet the Black Mamba. But I will say that those season tickets right behind the basket, 6 rows off the floor, will stay in this family forever.
So if I watch it on TV, we can see you, right?
Every free throw.
Every free throw. That's wonderful. So many wonderful things about Los Angeles, including the way this city loves
this team. Yeah, back in the old days, it was the Dodgers, and then Magic came in 1979 and became the Lakers. Yeah. So, yes, Lakers, wonderful. Lakers.
Well, I feel like that's a really a good note on which to end, unless there's any other thing you want to say to us tonight before we say goodnight. Anything else that you want to say to the people of St. James or whoever's listening?
Come see what your baby has grown up into. You will be shocked, proud, and share with us. Share with us as we continue this journey, and let's do this together, because St. James School is not St. James without the church. And I'm beginning to think the church may not be the church without the school.
Absolutely. So absolutely.
Let's do this together.
Amen.
Amen.
You're the best. You are the best. I love your energy. I love your compassion. I love your commitment to the world. It's beautiful.
I'm trying. I got a lot to live up to. No one make any more comments about my parents.
Okay. Thank you, Hubert, for being with us tonight. And
thank you, Mother
we all wish you well, and see you soon.
See you soon. Send me your agent's number. All right.
That's right.
Thank you, Mother Kate. It was a pleasure.
Blessings and good night, everyone. Thank you for being with us.